So it is Thursday morning, the last day of the convention, and we have outlasted most of our friends, so there's no one to introduce us. I suggested that we stay behind this curtain and introduce ourselves as like the voice of God, like, now coming to the stage. But Michael said that would be awkward, Stavros. So we'll introduce ourselves real quick. Go ahead.
This is Jamie Lee Quicker. Jamie Quicker from the Detroit Institute of
And the handsome and charming Mr. Michael Stavros, only known as Stavros for most of you, and he is from M Culinary Concepts.
So I am the Director of Business Development for M Culinary Concepts. I'm also a partner in the company. My job is to shape trees and steer the strategy for the company in the 1, 3, and 5-year windows. I've been in the catering game for about 21 years now, which I can't believe. And like so many people in the food and beverage industry, I had no intention of going into this industry. I went to college for political science and Chinese language because, damn it, I was going to be an international lawyer. My grandmother, my Jewish mother, all very excited by that. And then I got done with school and I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. You know, you start college at 18, you know exactly what you're going to do. By the time you graduate, you're like, I have no idea. So what do most people do? You get a job in restaurants and bars, and next thing you know, a friend of yours works for a catering company. I'm like, what the hell's a catering company do? So come on, pick up some shifts. And 21 years later, I cannot believe that I'm still in this industry, but I love this industry more than anything. I can't imagine at this point doing anything else, especially being a lawyer. You know, my grandmother did finally come around to, well, catering's nice too. But that being said, I love every aspect of the business, especially the selling side.
I have also been in the industry about 20 years, which is shocking because I look so much younger and prettier than Stavros, but it's true. I just turned 40. Same story where I wasn't really planning on being in this industry. I went to school for journalism and political science. I'm that girl. And then got a job. Bussing tables was my first industry job and just continued to work my way up. I just changed jobs 6 months ago. Before that, I worked for a company that I oversaw 17 venues in 11 different states. So I traveled 252 days last year. And now I'm at the Detroit Institute of Arts, which is one of the top 5 ranked museums in the country. And that's what we got. So we also wanted to show you this ridiculous thing. So Shannon helped us pick our topic, and she asked us to do this together, and she said, you guys are the dynamic duo. So we got dressed today, stayed in different hotels. He said, meet me in the lobby, and we both came out of the lobby like this. Okay, do you notice some things going on here?
Do you see what happened?
So let's start with the black shoes, the cuffed jeans, the white shirt, the black blazer, and the aviator sunglasses. So we literally came out matching like twins. We didn't even plan this, which is embarrassing. He didn't like it. We look like the Rockettes.
Well, it's no more embarrassing than wearing sunglasses indoors right now. So that being said, we're going to do that.
So here's how today's going to work. We started with a slideshow because we weren't sure if you guys were going to be awkward and not ask us any questions. Because, you know, open mics only work if you actually talk to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to answer some questions that other people have asked us. And then as those questions come up, if you have a question, please raise your hand and shout out. We like to talk on the floor, so we're going to come down to you.
And not just raise your hand for questions. If you have an example, a story that you'd like to share that's right in line with what we're talking about, that's how we all learn. Let's not kid ourselves. There are no original ideas anymore. We've used them all up. So now what we do is we feed off of each other. We find great inspiration and great ideas in the people around us. Not just our own company, but even our competitors, vendors in other markets and categories, even completely different industries. Like I got all amped up on 3D printing a few years ago and started making little knick-knacky, tchotchke stuff for our events, until I realized it takes like 4 days to make one thing. So, the 3D printing's coming along, we're just not there yet. So, but if you have something to share, if you want to tell a hilarious story, that's even the best. We love it, especially if it's about a client that are just driving us crazy. But,
so to start with, though, I had an icebreaker and I said, who has a good Bridezilla story? Is there anyone in here who heard a really, really good Bridezilla story? Anybody?
Wow.
I know y'all have them. Oh, over here. Let's hear real quick. This is how interaction starts. We just pressure you. Oh, she's a little hungover. Raise your hand if you joined her. Right here.
So it was at the wedding reception, and it was in the banquet ballroom. The lights started flickering from dim, bright, really bright, and the banquet captain came up to me and told me that it was something with that's something we had to call an electrician. It was something that we could deal with, or anybody on the team. The mother of the bride, it actually is not Bridezilla, it's Momzilla.
Even worse.
She came up to me and literally told me to go back and fix it personally. And she wanted to see that done before the electrician.
See, people don't realize when we sign up for this sort of thing, we're electricians, we're janitors. We go all the way outside the box. So my story is that I had a bride who asked to try 20 appetizers, 6 entrees, 2 carving stations, multiple desserts. I told her no, she couldn't try all that. I told her she couldn't even finish that amount of food in a single sitting. She said, it's not like I'm asking you to make me the whole steak, I just want a bite. Which is awesome. Here's your bite of steak. So I said, why don't we try some things, we'll pick some favorite things, and then we'll see if you want to do an additional tasting. And she said, I'm not being a bridezilla, I just demand you do what I tell you to do. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to be cool, I'm trying to talk to her. And then she says, I pay your effing salary, you'll do what I tell you to do. And I was like, wait a minute, hold the phone. So I call my boss, who's the owner of the company, and I'm like the one they send in when things are going bad. And I'm like, girl is crazy, we're gonna end up on the news, this is not a deal. And so for the first time ever, he said, we're gonna give up our exclusive right at this venue, go tell the venue we don't want her wedding, because she's already booked there. And so I call the director of this venue and I say, hey, it's Jamie, and leave a message, could you call me? And so the next day we get an email. It's a forward from the director of this venue. It's from the mayor, because this bride emailed the mayor and all of city council to tell them that I would not let her taste enough items at her wedding tasting, because he cares. And so then I was like, oh, we're done. And so all of the caterers in town, they wouldn't touch it. They were like, if she is giving up her exclusive rights, we're not touching that. She ended up going with this restaurant that she ended up suing for ruining her wedding. Saw that coming. That's something we're going to talk about, how to see that coming. Go ahead, Stavros.
So mine isn't so much a Bridezilla story as much as just the funniest thing that I've ever seen at a wedding that we've catered. I'll go ahead and describe this client in very succinct terms. White trash with a lot of money. Kind of my favorite client type, because they don't know what they want. They're like, I want to be nice. I'm like, okay, here's how much nice costs. But she was fantastic. She really was. Her mother was delightful. Her father was super kind. They actually were really, really fun clients. So we were planning the wedding. I had my whole management team on this one just because they wanted it to be really cool and unique and special food and all that. Well, we were catering the wedding at a club that allowed outside caterers. And it's upscale. It's not super fancy, but the pools are in the back. And the pools were still open to the community, even though they had this invisible fence that kind of ran behind the patios off of the ballroom that we were in. And my first time catering there, and my first thought was, what's going to stop anybody? Oh, guest won't. Randoms won't walk into the event. I'm like, okay, sure. So,
raise your hand if you have heard that before. Raise your hand if that's been a dirty lie.
So the wedding's going on, everybody's having a great time. My sister actually would have loved this. My sister's a Coors Light drinker, and she, I just thought, let's go out there. So much so that she named 2 of her cars the Silver Bullet. But she loves it, and she, her friends love it, so I have pictures from my sister's, with different weddings that she's done that, it's just the head table is lined with beer bottles. Well, that's what this was. The head table was just lined with Coors Light bottles. They were having a grand old time. Well, sure enough, my staff and I are kind of standing off in the far corner, and the opposite end of the room, you know, the big French doors are open out to the patio where the food stations were. In stagger, not stumble, not bumble, not walk, stagger into the room, 4 people wearing bathing suits. 2 guys, 2 women. As if drunk as they were, they still looked around and went, yeah, these people are dressed like me. I totally belong here. So,
We're owning it.
they stagger in, and the mother of the bride, when I stand there watching, like, because we're not security, are we supposed to intervene here? I don't know.
Security, electrician.
Right? So, we're watching this happen, the mother of the bride runs up, you know, and we can tell she's basically pleading with these people, this is my daughter's wedding, you know, please, if you don't mind just going back out. And we're thinking, what normal human being wouldn't accept that? Go, you know what, you're right, I'm so sorry, drunk as you are, no. So we're kind of watching, and the next thing we see, one of the drunk women in her bikini top punches the bride's mother in the guts. Oh, just socks her right in the guts. So, at this point, they're like, well, shit, we gotta do something.
Security.
So, but the kicker is, when you have that moment, that pause of like, all right, we gotta formulate a plan. I have no idea what that plan is, but we're gonna do something, and it's gonna be glorious. But before we can even move, the next thing we see is a lone Coors Light bottle flying through the air. And where does it land? Right on the head of the woman who punched the bride's mother. Now that targeting was phenomenal. This was from across the room. 3 guesses who chucked that bottle.
The bride.
The bride.
You don't have to mom.
That cleared the entire bridal bench. They rushed the field and beat the ever-living daylights out of these 4 people right in the middle of their oral reception. Physically picked them up and threw them out the back door, went like this, walked right up to the bar. Can I get a Coors Light? And that was the wedding. It was the best damn wedding I've ever seen.
So we tell you these stories because this is the kind of conversation we want to have. We're going to sit up here, we're going to give you points to selling, etc. But we all know that when you're really in this business, shit hits the fan. And it does frequently. And those are the kinds of questions that we actually want to get you guys to ask. What do you do when someone punches the bride's mother? You clear the bridal bench. That's what you do. I don't know. What do you do when someone emails the mayor? I can actually answer that. So, oh man. Okay, before we start, does anyone have a pressing question? Anybody yet? Dude, Amazon Prime. I'm an Amazon Prime junkie, and my husband is mortified by it because boxes just keep coming, and I'm like, oh, it's fine, I can return that if I don't like it. Amazon Prime, $24.99. Are you taking a picture of it for later? Okay, go ahead, you start.
All right, so the first thing that I always want to share with people, and this is coming as an employer, this is also coming as a salesperson, as a business development management person. There is a distinct difference between sales management and business development. There is a distinct difference in the type of person who excels at one versus the other. A sales manager, in my opinion, is inbound. A sales manager is the person who's answering the calls, responding to the email inquiries. Business is coming to them. These people typically are rock-solid, checklist-oriented doers. The business comes in, they know to create the proposal, they know to generate the videos. This is the type of person who generally could see the event from beginning to end. Every company operates a little bit differently. Some companies have quasi-planners, that are basically the event producer, who then works with an assistant or other people who do the paperwork. Doesn't matter. What matters to me is that you understand somebody answering the phone is very different than somebody who's going out and shaking the trees. I live for tree shaking. I love getting out into the community. I love knocking on doors. I love networking. I love meeting new people. I'm a freaking animal addict. I hate paperwork. I hate minutia. I have the worst ADD that I'll be lucky if I can remember what to say next. But I get bogged down, so that's not my strength. My strength is generating revenue. When I joined M Culinary, we did $9 million. This year we're going to do 37. That's in 9 years. That's how much I love what I do. I'm not solely responsible for it, but I get out there and I meet people. And the rest of my team are very different. I bring the business in, I hand it to the right person on the team. I kind of match up personalities. They then work with the coordinators on our sales team and generating everything for this event. And I'm already moving on to the next thing.
So raise your hand if you are a manager or a business owner who's sitting in here. Good, they like it. So one of the things that we have found that where we fail in the business world, either as managers or owners, is that we don't say that there are two different kind of roles here, and if we do, we value one over the other. You can't have a whole company of tree shakers or nothing actually gets done. And so we say all the time, we want you to be a sales manager, not an order taker. Raise your hand if you have heard that. Right? Some people are order takers and they're really good at it, and you need those people in your business. And you, as somebody who is looking to advance your career, what you need to understand is what role are you in those two things, because we try to straddle the thing. And it's better to do one thing really well than two things half-assed. You want to write something down, write that down. So you need to understand for your organization who is doing what and what their skills are and build them up to their skills.
And you have to know how to reward them appropriately, compensate them effectively. A business development manager should be on commission. However you want to say majority commission, minority commission, I don't know what you want to do, that's your call. I say commission the hell out of them. Because if they're generating, they're paying themselves. If they're not generating, you're not paying them. And you're going to make a decision real quick whether or not to move on from this person. But they need that hunger. They need to go out and find it. Sales management or an order taker or somebody internal, put them on salary. Create a monthly bonus structure. You know, if we go, I don't know if people in here charge for line item labor. You know, let's increase labor by 15% over goal. You get a $100 gift card. You know, spot bonuses like that in the monthly. So it still gives them something to work toward, but you're playing to their strengths. Their strengths are, give me the information, I will process it, I will get it done, and we will have a happy plan. In business development, you're playing to their hunger. You're playing to their need for approval, their need to go get more business, their need for money. So just remember, don't treat your sales manager like a business development manager when it comes to compensation.
And that's one way that you may know within yourself whether you tend to be more of a tree hugger or a sales manager. Because if you want...
Hold it. We don't know how to treat it.
Well, you are from Phoenix.
Yeah, we hug cactus. It's not good.
But it's one way to tell within yourself, because raise your hand if you'd rather be commission-based. Me, like 150%. Are you telling me that the more I sell for you, the more that I can make? I love that. But raise your hand if you'd be happy just to have a happy salary, you take the same amount home every week, you know exactly. There are people who like that, and that, I think, starts to show you who you are looking for and what your skill set is. The other thing we wanted to bring up here, because I get this question all the time and none of you are going to be brave enough to ask. If you're looking for a new job and somebody offers you something, do you counter offer? Raise your hand if you've wondered that. Yeah? We all have. So Stavros and I hire a lot of people, and I would say that if your job is either the sales manager, but especially a tree shaker, if you're business development, if you don't counter offer me, I'm going to question my decision to hire you. Because if you can't look out for your own bottom line, how are you looking out for mine? I want you to be hungry for that money. I want to say, I'll give you $40,000 and 3%, and you say, well, I'll either do $50,000 and 3 or $40,000 and 5. And I'll be like, huh, you're funny, here's 3.2, call it a day. I like that, because that makes me think when you're going to go out there and look for things, that you're going to get the most for your money. And you as managers or as business owners, you should appreciate that in people. And if you're developing a culture where people are afraid to ask you for more money, then they're not going to be looking for more money for you. Does that make sense?
I think that makes perfect sense.
Thanks.
So that's understanding the difference between the two sides of sales, in our opinion. Now we have to talk about the first step, and that's finding the client. Finding the client is not as easy as you think. First of all, raise your hand if you feel like you have a great understanding of who your target client is. if you feel like you need to be stronger in that. Truth is, your clients are changing all the time. Their needs, their wants, their preferences, their personalities, and especially in the wedding industry, that individual, you're special just like everyone else mentality exists. But they say in real estate it's all about location, location, location. For us it's relationships, relationships, relationships. That's what people buy. They're not buying your product. You are just like everybody else out there. Really, when it boils down to it, we're caterers. We sell food. We have exceptional service. We use all the same buzzes and clicks and all the great words in our description. For us, it's globally influenced cuisine, indulgently personal service. Makes you feel all warm and gooey inside. But everybody else is saying the same thing. So it's your relationship. It's figuring out, do you want the high end, do you want the mid-range, do you want the low end for volume? Do you want the high maintenance? Some people love working with high maintenance clients, and they'll charge a premium for it. Do you want low resistance? What type of client do you want? And the biggest thing that you have to remember is you want a client who's going to help you bring more clients. So if it's a corporate situation, that's easy. It's somebody who belongs to association, somebody who knows everybody in town. If it's a bride who is a social media junkie and who's going to be screaming from the rooftops all about you. If it's a groom, same thing. You want brides and brides, grooms and grooms, whatever you're selling, you just want them to be screaming it from the rooftops. You got to find that right personality.
And then you need to dress the part. This is something that we never talk about, that people are afraid to say. But you have to dress the part for the clientele that you are going after. And so if you are going after a high-end clientele, you don't have to wear brand names. You can go to Amazon Prime and get this amazing blazer for $24.99. But you need to come into that relationship polished and professional. You need to hang out at the places where those people are hanging out. If everyone eats at this one restaurant or goes to this one club, make friends with someone and have them introduce you to their friends. That's how networking is. And then fit into that group.
You know your community. Know what's hot, what's not. Know where these people love to hang out, like Jamie just said. But really what you want to do is conduct some effective research. Let's not kid ourselves. You're scraping data, you're stalking these people. You know, I get an
We have a
inquiry.
question.
Oh, wait, question.
Sure, because I'm like Van White.
I own a DJ company and I consider myself in the personality business, just kind of you're just saying personality, but it's regarding sales, because I have like 5 other DJs that work for me, and maybe other companies have, we're the owners, but we also have people that work under us. Should we maintain, my fear in sales is that I say, well, I'm this price, but if you want this other DJ is less. I don't want the clients to say, well, am I going to get less? Are you going to send me a bad person? Is there a level, should we as owners have the same price across the board, whether it's us or our personality that they're hiring, other than the other person below us?
Well, number one, I believe you set your own value.
Yes.
At least we try to. So you set your own value when you go out into the marketplace with a dollar, with a concept. And you see if people will buy it. If they'll buy it, then you know you're priced correctly. If you're not getting anything, then you got to figure out how to sell yourself, or you got to figure out how to lower your price. In terms of what you're talking about, I don't think there's any problem with having different price tiers.
Right.
And if anything, I think that's more encouraging because people tend to be aspirational. There is a movie theater chain, I can't remember which, I don't know if it was AMC or Harkins, but one of the big national chains conducted their own study. And it was with popcorn. And they put out a small popcorn and a large popcorn. And had, I want to say maybe $1 in difference in price. They thought that people would automatically go to the large. People actually, by something to 70-30 ratio, were buying the small. And they thought, well, we need to sell more, so they added a medium. And then they broke the price difference down between the small to the large, or small to the medium, medium to the large. They thought for sure, all right, we're just going to bust it with medium. Turns out large went through the roof. Because psychologically, people were looking at this, well, the small is that, but there's a medium and a large, so the small is going to be pretty small. Then they looked at the medium and thought, well, it's probably enough popcorn. But man, for like 50 cents more, I can have the large.
Raise your hand if that's how you think. I think like that.
So having that price tier, people are not only going to start working themselves through it logically, but aspirationally, I think, well, I want the best.
Right, and I think that's, so ladies, this is more for you. How many of you go to a salon that you would pay more if you go see the owner or like the expert stylist? Those of us who are fancy. That's how it is. And when you see everybody else, it's not that you are painting them as less than you, it's that you are painting yourself as an expert. So here's the playing field. You're saying, here's the playing field that everybody else is on, and in my company you can have the same playing field that everybody else is on, or you can be even more badass and hire me for an extra 50 cents.
Now, the key to selling what you're talking about is making it to the benefit of them. You know, it's not so much that, well, let me offer you a lower price. You know what, let me match you up with. I think you'd be great with, you know, because here's his strong suits, or here's her strong suits, and I feel like that'd be a great match for you. You're not embarrassing the client by talking about price and that they can't afford the highest end. You're not devaluing your high end. You're simply saying, I'm actually taking your needs into account. I'm thinking about you, and this is what I feel is best for you. That's when they will start to look at you as the expert, because you're offering them something that isn't the highest price thing you can. Your job, you just now build trust. So, I believe there's a question.
Was it? I'll come to you.
Well, you sort of answered the question by saying that, because I have the exact same question he does as a DJ, because I'll book myself first as the owner, and then I'll have my other DJs book second. And if my other DJs are less, then the client thinks that they're not getting the caliber of a DJ. But I feel like I've got more experience and more expertise, so I should charge more. But what you just said partly answered my question. But my second part of it is, if they know my price, and then they find out that the other DJ that is available is less, then it makes them look like they're not to the same caliber. So that was my question. But the way you worded that in you know, putting them with a certain DJ because of their needs, that's a way to overcome that. If they haven't seen the price difference.
Even if they have seen the price difference, just don't talk about price. Focus solely on the qualities of that particular DJ and how that matches up with their personality and the type of wedding that they're going for.
Well, and we also believe strongly in our industry, we're afraid to call ourselves experts. We're afraid to say we're worth this thing that we do. I say this all the time in my classes. Every Yahoo now with a Pinterest board thinks that they're an event planner. Anybody who can make a Spotify playlist thinks they're a DJ, right? How many people are like, dude, my brother's got a DJ, he makes some great Spotify playlist. It's not a DJ. You know, just because you go to the farmer's market and can make one pretty bouquet does not make you a florist. Just because you planned your cousin's wedding does not make you an event planner. And so we need to own ourselves as experts and say, we have 20 years in this industry, you're paying for our wisdom. And in every other industry, my husband's a junior developer. There's senior developers. Senior developers make more money than my husband as a junior developer. It doesn't mean that he's not worthy and still can develop, but if somebody else can probably do it faster and better, and you, as a business owner, as an expert, can probably do it faster and better. Does that make sense?
Speaking of Yahoos, venues. So every Yahoo with a lobby that's pretty thinks they're a venue now. So we're getting a crowded market in Denver, and it's no longer sustainable. So people are becoming date loyal versus venue loyal. And I used to sell the crap out of Thursdays and Mondays and Fridays and the off days, and now we're having a hell of a time selling those off days. So I'm not sure how to strategize that. I mean, do we discount? Do we incentivize? We are struggling. So any tips?
I never want to hear the word discount again. Don't ever use it. Just stop. Discount will never come back. You want a value add. You want to keep your pricing, but you want to throw in some enhancements that you can change on a whim. But if you say, oh, we're running a special 15% off, well, now you're a coupon. Or what did Tara say yesterday? I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a Groupon. Tara's session was amazing, if anybody caught her yesterday afternoon. But no, so you set your value. You know what you're worth. Your job is not to come down to them. Your job is to bring them up to you and help them understand what's unique about your space, what's unique about your product, that does differentiate you, because again, we're all doing the same thing. In each of our categories, each of our silos, we're all doing the same thing.
And that's also why you need to completely understand your ROI. You need to think like a business person. How much does flowers cost you? How much does labor cost you? How much does swag cost you? Do you already own it? Do you need to dry clean it? How much does it cost to dry clean it? How much does it cost if you're a chef? If you offer a fruit tray, what are you offering? How much labor is the back of house doing to cut up your stupid fruit tray? Like, that might not actually be the best option. So you need to understand for each of these things what your value added, what your cost is versus the value you're giving to a person. Champagne toast, we should all be giving away champagne toast. We mark up champagne 30%, and then we charge them $6 for like this much champagne, and we actually bought the whole bottle for $8. People think you're amazing and extravagant, and your cost is like
You just made me
nothing.
sad. You're serving $8 bottles of champagne.
Don't pay attention to that.
So yeah, it's value add, and it's communicating what that dollar amount for that value add is. So rather than saying you're offering a discount, you're saying, and we're going to include this, this, and this, and this, and it's worth X. So they're feeling a little better about it. Does that help?
We're weird because we're a state, we're like a nonprofit access program. It's a crazy thing. I can't add things like champagne or a photographer.
Can you add labor and services? Can you?
Yeah, that's more question. I don't know what we can add to more valuable because I cannot pay vendors to come in and you're not allowed to do that.
Oh.
Yes, that's fine. That's a good one. So I need to be able to add value because we are able to offer time. Like an extra hour or so.
Love that.
And I was just going to add to that, like when you're under restriction of what you're allowed to offer, for example, we have in our, by the way, we're a catering company in Denver, we should talk. But I learned this from a sales thing too, that come up with a list of 4 or 5 things that all of your sales team have carte blanche offering power. It doesn't matter what it is, it's something that it might cost you $50 or $100. But they are allowed to give that to the client without consulting you, ever. And if you need to give 2 of them, great. But they feel empowered to make the sale, and also the client feels like all of a sudden they don't have to answer to anybody else. That's their person. And they develop even greater trust with the person who's making that sale as well. So it's win-win. So that's my advice there. My question is, when you're in a sales position, and you think you're dealing with a feeler, and all of a sudden you realize you're dealing with a thinker, what are some strategies to kind of flip that around? Does that make sense? Like, feelers are people that are impulse buyers, and oh, it made me feel good, and it made me easy, and it's easy to do. And the thinkers are the, can we take that out of the package and that out of the package? Do we get credit for that? And can I bring in my own florist? But I still want this package. Like, what are some strategies to work through that kind of a personality?
Oh, you have an answer. Okay.
I'm a thinker, so I kind of know that. Get a little more detail oriented. Give them all the technical of everything. I work in bridal, so I go into all of the terms of like what you're actually getting out of a dress and what they're getting for their value and whatnot. And I'll go into everything that we supply. Like, we do complimentary pressing. We do, they get we have a bag that they can get, a luxury bag that we keep it protected. So we get a little bit more technical with it. So we just flip it. It's very easy to flip from a feeler to a thinker just by adding like verbiage in, basically.
So my answer is sort of the same but a little different, because I would actually take them back to their feeler roots. I think that you lost the picture. So take them back through and do the walkthrough again. Okay, let's do this walkthrough again. So I like to create these moments of wow. So when your guests first come in and this is the first room they see, this is this moment of wow because they've never seen anything like this. And all this furniture, it's already here, and they don't know it's already here. So they're going to think that you created this. Now I've reattached them to their feelings and then reminded them of the value at the same time. This is free. Okay, and now after this we're going to go in through dinner. And so, right, you wanted those white cream linens that are part of your package. So the whole thing is going to be cream, and there's no additional cost to do X, Y, or Z. So you're kind of doing both of those things at the same time. You're painting the picture, reminding them of all the emotions, and then just like jabbing in the like things that apply to their details. Right.
So in conducting research and this stalking thing, there's a couple of things I want everybody to do. When you get an inquiry and you finally get to have that conversation with the client, you're conducting an interview. You're not on a fact-finding mission. You're not there to talk about their wedding or their event. You're there to talk about them. Who is this person on the other end of the phone? Who is this person sitting across the table from you? Who is the person on the other side of the screen? You want to know, tell me the story of how you met. Tell me the story of, where'd you grow up? Tell me about childhood. Like, you're going to find ways to work into conversation, questions about what makes them unique in this world. And when you do finally get to do that, now you can take that those nuggets of information and now you start scraping online. You start Google searching. You better be doing, you get their home address, and you get their parents' home address, and you get to Zillow right away.
Somebody told me that at CaterSource, and it literally blew my mind. Because I'm all over someone's Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, but Zillow, like, go and see what neighborhood they live in, see how much money they paid for their house. See, that'll tell you a little bit about what's going on with their finances.
You know, and it's not a guarantee, but it's a pretty good indicator of what level of client you're dealing with financially.
So we did not realize that our class was this short, and apparently it's pretty
Oh,
short.
it's not short.
Done?
Okay.
So we're just going to wrap up with these things, okay?
All right, real quick.
So we'll finish with meeting the client. Speed dating versus elevator pitch. Raise your hand if you've been in one of my sessions ever before. Somebody, hopefully. Thank you. So I say this all the time. People now do their research. They don't need an elevator pitch. Before, they wanted you to tell what their product was, how much it costs. You know, they needed the whole pitch. Now we have to speed date our clients. We have to be warm and welcoming because they already know coming in the door what our product is. We have to sell ourselves. So you have to know the questions to ask. And the first questions to ask are all about them because people want to talk about themselves. How did you meet? How did you fall in love? Blah, blah, blah. It's going to tell you, did they go to college? Did they meet at a bar? Did they whatever? And then the answers are in what they say and what they don't say. I'll let Stavros.
You know, we always go for what they're going to tell us, but you have to ask questions and listen to things that they're leaving out. You know, if they start to tell a story but then beg off of it, if they give you a very abrupt answer, there's something more there. There's something underneath it. So you want to find out, because that's typically what they absolutely positively don't want. That's what they're trying to avoid. But if they only tell you what they want and you miss out on hearing what they don't like, what has happened to them in the past, you know, what their preferences and absolute no's are. Like, for example, my wife and I at our wedding, our biggest no was nobody is making requests of the DJ. We didn't want a band, we wanted a DJ. Nobody would make requests. And if by somehow somebody got through to that DJ, we had already given the DJ a list of songs that you absolutely, positively will never play your wedding.
So speaking of that, this is one of the last things we wanted to touch on, because what happens if the answers are things, if the answers to what they care about. So if you say, tell us about your dream wedding, and someone says, my dream wedding is to have everyone on the dance floor, and you are a caterer, and their answer had nothing to do with what you sell, right? You guys have had that experience? Then you need to sell your product so it matches their answer. So you say, okay, if your biggest goal is to have everyone on the dance floor, then I suggest that we preset the salads so that when people come to dinner, they can start eating, we can do speeches right away. And then after that, let's do a duet. A, because I just upsold you a duet. B, because I made it easier for my kitchen. And now I'm gonna say, because we can just throw that duet down real fast. And so everybody in the room will get served the duet. And then what I suggest is to not have us serve the cake. What I suggest is to have us do a buffet. So we're going to have everyone get up once dinner is done, and we'll say, please join the bride and groom on the dance floor for their first dance. So instead of having everyone sitting looking bored, they'll all be circling you when you do that first dance. And so we'll go straight into that, to the dancing, and everyone will just be in that room. And while people are dancing, we're going to put the cake out like it's a after-party snack.
If you ever have to say no, and by the way, that's the hardest lesson for any true salesperson to learn. It's okay to say no.
Right.
But you better have alternatives available.
Right.
So, you know, I don't think we should do that, but here's what I think we should do and can do. And tell them why. In catering especially, there are reasons we can't serve a plate of dinner in 20 minutes.
Right, because if their answer is, I want to get on the dance floor in 20 minutes and they have 450 people in 5 courses, your answer is no. But your answer is, but we can do this and we can do this, and reset the reasonable expectation.
You know, and boundaries too. You have to explain to them, this is when I will be available to you. This is how long it typically takes me to respond to an email, to a phone call. Are they going to be allowed to text you? Are they going to go through social media to find you? You need to control the channels. Otherwise, we're bombarded by 5, 6, 7 different applications and methods for reaching us. You need to control how they're contacting you.
Because you're going to start to hate those brides and grooms real fast. We had to come to Jesus with a bride once because she texted me, her wedding is in like 8 months. She texted me at 3:58 in the morning. And she was like, hey, I was thinking about my linens. And I was like, I want to kill you. And so like I called her the next day and I said, well, I can appreciate that you feel like that, but how about you like collect all your thoughts into an email and then send me an email? Because they're your clients, not your friends. And this point is the most important point. Money matters. Until you get money on the table, this is just a really expensive hobby we all have. Like, write that stuff down. Stavros said it was super smart. Until you put money on the table, this is just an expensive hobby. And those aren't your clients, those are your friends. So in order to be a business person, you need to have money on the table. And I think we have to...
All right, let me show you these real quick. You just do it. You have to work with a team, whether it's a team of vendors, whether it's your own team that you employ. You need them. They need to be convinced. They need to be told, yes, we can do this. Here's how we're going to do it. Yes, we're going to do this because it'll be amazing and inspirational. We need creative options. They need that inspiration. Bring them ideas. Bring them imagery. Bring them thoughts. Bring them concepts.
And don't sell things your team cannot implement and then get mad at them when they can't implement it.
You know, they need to understand what you're selling because you need it to work. And then you follow up. Your first step is a thank you, never a bill. Make sure you're continuing to build the personal connections so that you can steer the narrative, right?
And this is literally our last slide. So steering the narrative is really important. When you send a follow-up email, you want to set yourself up to get the thank you note. And so the way that you do that is steer the narrative. Thank you so much for having us cater or DJ or make flowers at your wedding. Make flowers. You know, when I was walking around, it seemed like everybody was really enjoying themselves. People really commented on the food. You've given them compliments that their guests have said to you, because now it's way more awkward for them to say, actually, somebody said that they didn't like their steak. They'll just say, thank you, I'm glad to hear my guest enjoyed it. So steer the narrative, and that's how you get what you want.
Totally appropriate to give gifts, by the way. Do the 1-year anniversary thing. If you're doing the bride, from the groom, whatever you're doing, give them that 1-year anniversary. Maybe even 6 months, just send a card. Just a random card, not a company card that's on company stationery. It's either your personal stationery or you went out and actually bought just a hey, thank you card.
Because that's been going to pay back on you, not just now, but continue. Because every time that person has a honeymoon or anniversary or whatever, and they post their wedding back on social media again, they'll tag you. They get a gift and they tag you. They say, oh my gosh, look how cool Stavros was. He sent me his and her mug.
And then on the corporate side, we all deal with corporate clients as well. One of the things that we do from a marketing perspective for that experiential piece is we give gifts on off holidays, like Arbor Day. Nobody else is sending out communication to clients on Arbor Day because we love trees, and so we send them a plant, or we'll send them food, we'll send them cookies that are shaped like trees, we'll do whatever. But it's an off holiday. We send out, 4th of July cards. Because again, everyone's doing the holidays. So if you're going to do holidays, do a Thanksgiving mailer, give a gift. Like we did these little cute framed give thanks things, very crafty, very Pinteresty. We made those and delivered those the week before Thanksgiving.
And then it doesn't get lost in the Christmas shuffle where we all get baskets and cards from everybody, and you're like, throw it on the pile, give me the chocolate.
I still do it all the time. I'm sorry guys, we had to rush out that part.